Okay, picture this. It was supposed to be just a peaceful, drama-free day at Anmer Hall. You know, one of those rare golden Sundays when the royal fam could finally just breathe. No paparazzi, no palace press briefings, not even a single wave from the gates. Just William, Kate, George, Charlotte, and Louis doing what normal families do. Laughing, playing, chilling. But oh no, that serenity didn't last. Guess who showed up? Queen Camilla. Yep, totally unannounced. Now, the official line was that it was just a little family catch-up, but let's be real. When a royal like Camilla makes a surprise appearance, there's always more bubbling beneath the surface than tea at Buckingham. See, Camilla wasn't there for biscuits and chit-chat. She had two things on her royal mind, and one of them, Princess Charlotte. Now let's pause for a sec and talk about Charlotte. She is not your average tiara-wearing little royal. That girl has fire. She's got the grace of a princess, but the spirit of a lioness. People who know her say she'll tell you exactly what's on her mind. Calm, clear, no fuss, but with a stare that could shake a corgi into sitting still. Thanks to William and Kate, Charlotte's childhood has been as normal as royal life can get. Sure, there's protocol, but the kids, they're climbing trees, playing tag, dancing in socks, and asking life's big questions. It's all very unroyal and refreshing. So what does Camilla do? She strolls in and decides to bring up, of all things, boarding school. Yes, boarding school. She thought it was high time Charlotte joined George at Berkshire. You know, the classic shape them while they're young mindset. The same philosophy that raised royals for generations. Throw them into cold stone halls and let discipline do the parenting. But let's just say that idea didn't land well. Kate and William, they've intentionally kept their kids in day schools like Lamrook, places that believe in nurturing over molding, in kids being kids instead of pint-sized diplomats. Still, Camilla went on, talking about discipline, structure, and how the future Princess Royal needed proper shaping. Here's where it all popped off. Charlotte, who had been quietly nearby, totally within earshot, heard everything. She didn't storm in, she didn't throw a tantrum. But what she did next? Iconic, legendary, history book worthy. She calmly walked in, eyes steady, back straight, and said one line. "I don't need a school to teach me how to be a princess." Mic drop. Everyone froze. William didn't say a word, just gently put a hand on her shoulder, like, "Yes, baby, that's my girl." And Camilla, oh, she didn't say a word either. She just looked at Charlotte, tight-lipped, then turned around and walked back inside. And that was all it took. Within hours, that moment went from whispered family drama to front-page headlines. There was no video, no photo, but the royal gossip machine, it didn't need one. It exploded. Memes of Charlotte in royal armor fighting Camilla the Dragon Queen. Hashtags like number little lioness and number Charlotte said no trended like wildfire. The people had chosen a side. And spoiler, it wasn't Camilla's. And back in the palace? Total chaos. Meetings were called, phones rang off the hook, damage control kicked in hard. But from Kensington Palace? Not one word, no denial, no clarification. Just a short little statement confirming Charlotte would stay at Lamrook. No elaboration, which only added fuel to the fire. Charlotte unintentionally became a symbol of modern girlhood. A little girl with a voice, and she used it. Media outlets gushed, parents wrote essays, morning shows broke it down like it was a royal version of Mean Girls. Everyone, even those who never followed royal news, suddenly cared. Because Charlotte, she wasn't just cute anymore. She was bold, poised, and just a little bit badass. Inside the palace, though, let's just say Camilla was not sipping tea and laughing along. She felt misunderstood. She thought she was helping. She thought she was guiding. But public perception? It had already painted her as the outdated step-grandma trying to silence the future. To her staff, Camilla vented. She'd gone to boarding school. It shaped her. It helped her survive royal life. But the world has changed, and Charlotte wasn't being raised to just survive. She was being raised to live, speak, push back. And that's exactly what she did. So while the public was busy turning Charlotte into a tiny icon of truth and strength, things behind palace doors were getting, well, complicated. Camilla's PR team scrambled. Soft calls went out to royal reporters. Headlines were massaged. One friendly editor even got a nudge to run a fluff piece about Camilla's charitable work, trying to remind everyone that she's not the villain here. Eventually, a carefully polished message appeared under Camilla's name, praising Charlotte's strong spirit and mentioning that parenting styles differ. You could almost hear the teeth grinding behind the polite wording. But the damage? Done. And the truth? Camilla was hurt. And not just because she'd been politely demolished by a 9-year-old in front of family. No. It reopened an old wound. She spent years rebuilding her image. Always the composed, behind-the-scenes royal. Never too loud, never too messy. And here comes Charlotte. One sentence, one bold little sentence, and boom. Camilla's entire balancing act wobbled like a tea tray in a thunderstorm. Meanwhile, over at the Wales household, the vibe was totally different. Kate? She went full protective mama. She didn't panic. She got quiet. She turned off the TVs, took away the kids' screens. Newspapers disappeared. The goal? Protect Charlotte's peace. Because Kate understood something key. Charlotte had only spoken up because she felt safe to do so. And that was a win. But of course, there were questions. Late one night, Charlotte crept into her father's study. She looked unsure for the first time. "Did I make it worse?" she asked softly. William didn't miss a beat. He looked at her and said, "You told the truth. That never makes things worse." Cue the tears. Because that's parenting. That's growth. That's what Diana would have done. And William knew it. After that night, everything shifted. The anxiety slowly gave way to quiet pride. Charlotte hadn't acted out. She hadn't made a scene. She had simply said something true. And she said it with grace. Not for attention. Not to rebel. Just because she knew who she was. She knew what kind of princess she didn't want to be. By early June, the frenzy outside still hadn't died down. Commentators were dissecting every syllable Charlotte had spoken. A modern princess. A voice for the new generation. The child who looked a queen in the eye and said no. But Charlotte? She was back to her routine. She slipped on her school backpack like nothing had happened. Walked into Lamrook, waved to her friends, sat down for science class and started working on a group project about ocean pollution. Business as usual. Teachers didn't treat her any differently. That was the whole point. In class, she wasn't Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte of Wales. She was just Charlotte. And that's exactly how she liked it. She still played netball, still went to brownies, even joined a class documentary on saving bees. Total normal kid energy. But those closest to her noticed something had shifted. She was just a little quieter now, a bit more thoughtful, like someone who'd walked through fire, and came out a little more grown. At home, Kate and William kept things soft. Evenings became family-only zones. Craft nights, baking disasters, music playing in the kitchen while Louis danced like nobody was watching. And those bike rides? Still happening. William and Charlotte would pedal through the woods near Sandringham, their sacred escape. Sometimes they talked, sometimes they rode in peaceful silence. No cameras, no headlines, just dad and daughter. But outside that little royal bubble, the world was watching. Now here's where it gets really interesting. Charlotte's quiet rebellion didn't just start a PR storm. It sent shockwaves through the royal institution itself. People started asking the big questions. Should royal kids be seen but not heard? What does the future of the monarchy even look like? Are we witnessing the Diana Effect 2.0? Even King Charles weighed in, behind closed doors, of course. In a private convo that totally leaked later, he apparently told Camilla, "The world is changing, so must we." He didn't see Charlotte's moment as disrespect. He saw it as evolution, as the kind of genuine spark the monarchy needs to stay relevant. And in the subtlest but loudest move, he let it be known that he stood behind William and Kate, fully. That shifted everything. Palace aides began whispering about new protocol discussions, less stage managing for royal children, more room for individual voice. Nothing confirmed, but the seed was planted. Charlotte had started something, and no one, not even Camilla, could undo it. Camilla, to her credit, kept her head up in public. She smiled for cameras, cut ribbons, shook hands at charity galas, but those closest to her said she wasn't the same. That moment with Charlotte didn't just rattle her. It reopened years of public scrutiny she'd tried to bury. She'd worked so hard to be seen as calm, kind, composed. And now, the narrative had spun out of her hands. Again, one innocent remark from a child, and all the old wounds felt raw again. Back at school, Charlotte was coloring one day, just another Tuesday. Out of the blue, she asked her teacher, "Are all queens kind?" The teacher paused, took a breath, and answered honestly, "Some are, some aren't." Charlotte nodded and just kept coloring. That one moment, it said everything. Charlotte wasn't out to cause drama. She wasn't trying to be some royal rebel. She just thinks for herself. In a world where royals are trained to smile, wave, and stay silent, Charlotte spoke softly, clearly, truthfully. And somehow, that soft defiance was louder than anything the palace had prepared for. She's not here to be a puppet. She's not here to be someone else's idea of royalty. She's here to be Charlotte. And that might just change everything.